So you're thinking about making a move to the Portland metro area. I'm going to give you our 5 best tips to make that move, because it's a lot to go from point A to point B, especially if you're moving across the country or down south to here or wherever. So stick around, we're getting after it right now. All right, I'm Ann Stewart. I've been a principal broker in the Portland area for over 20 years, and I am your go-to gal if you're thinking about making a move to the Portland metro area. And in this video, as I mentioned, we're covering 5 of the best tips to get ready to make the move. You're gonna wanna pay attention because a lot of these you may or may not know of, or maybe you're sort of feeling overwhelmed by the amount of work that it's gonna take. But let me break it down for you. First, we're gonna start with timeline. Yes, timeline. And when we work on a timeline, it's not like, well, hey, when would you like to move? It's kind of like, when do you wanna be physically in your new home? What does that look like? What's a drop dead date that you have to be in? Now, we have a lot of people who move here for work, and they a lot of times have to be physically in the area by a certain date. Now, maybe you have the luxury to move locally and rent for a while. Maybe you don't, but you're gonna wanna know, what is that date that you absolutely need to be settled in, and then you work your way backwards. Now, a few things to keep in mind is, do you have kids in school? School systems in the Oregon, Portland area start just after Labor Day. Yes, it's a lot longer than most. I know on the East Coast, my cousins, they have kids that start in August. So you might be thinking, oh, I've got a little more time now during the summertime. So if you have kids, we start after Labor Day, but you're gonna wanna be settled usually before then. Now, depending on where you're coming from, you may need to make those adjustments sooner. The other thing is maybe you're coming here to retire and you're trying to work your way into, when do you want to let your work know, and when do you need to tell your place of occupation that you're no longer going to be working there. So always start with the end in mind, says Stephen Covey. So that's what we do. We say, when is it that you absolutely need to be here, or what is the real ideal timeline? And then you can start moving in the other direction, which is all the other things you're going to need to know before making your move. All right, number 2 is exit strategy. Boy, it's gonna take a lot to decide what to do with your existing home if you have one. And that means that the first step you need to do is hire a broker. Now, in order to do that efficiently, you're probably gonna wanna interview about 2 or 3 agents in your area. And if you don't have anybody you know that you trust and like to interview, we do network with a ton of agents around the country that are very similar to our style, and we can help vet them for you. I belong to a brokerage that has the largest independent brokerage all over the country. So let me know if you need a good recommendation for your area to interview. But you're gonna wanna interview between 2 and 3 agents to make sure you feel like they're a match. You do not wanna hire an agent if they're part-time. You don't wanna even hire an agent if it's somebody you know who has a license, but they're not really actively selling. Maybe it's like a family member that you feel sort of obligated to talk to. Don't do that. This is too important for you to do it that route. You really need to hire somebody that knows the market. They're actively doing it every day. They know their stuff, and they're a listing specialist. They know how to tell you how to get your house ready, and they're not afraid to be honest with you. They're going to tell you what you need to do to get that house ready, including repairs. A lot of people underestimate the things that they're gonna have to do to get the house ready, and it's never too early to start. So if you need to start that process early because you've got a lot on your plate with work, life, and everything else, get it done sooner. Many realtors, including myself, we're very used to people reaching out to us way before they ever make a move. And you're gonna want that person to be on your side. You're gonna wanna have them on speed dial to ask questions. So now is the time to start. They're also gonna usually have the resources, like the contractors, the vendor partners, to get people in. Maybe you need to paint some walls or replace some carpet, but they're probably more importantly gonna start with purging. That's right, you need to start getting rid of a ton of stuff. Most people have way too many things, and you're making a big move. So typically you need to start getting rid of stuff you're not gonna take with you anyway. So start going in deep on those closets and go and look at things as, is that coming with us or not? Because that's either gonna be thrown away, given away, donated, or maybe you sell it on Facebook Marketplace. But that stuff takes time, so as much runway as you can get, do it. All right, number 3 is setting a budget. This is very important. You're coming from one market and going to the next. Oftentimes, we have to set new expectations on the market you're going into, right? So if you're selling in Arizona or Texas or some other place, it's a very different market typically than what you're moving to. Sadly, a lot of places are cheaper than Portland, and so we have to set an expectation if you're expecting a certain amount of house with the price that you're budgeted. So it's important to get on a call with us or a Zoom meeting so we can share with you the expectation of what you can get for your money. Sometimes we help you analyze, hey, you might be needing to stay open to some other areas in order to get more of the house you want. But if location is important to you, then we start talking about what we can do in that location. Now, to get ready for your budget, there are 2 things that are very important for you to get. Number 1 is from your current listing agent where you're selling your house. They should be able to give you an estimated net sheet for what they predict your house is going to sell for. Now, sometimes I usually do this. I'll do best case scenario and worst case scenario because anywhere in between of that is like gravy, right? But you want to know what is the proceeds that you're going to get out of your house that you're going to use to buy the next house. And they need to factor in not just the sales price, but what you owe on your mortgage, your property taxes, your any HOA fees. It's also going to include usually title and escrow costs, any other fees that are applicable to your specific location and area, any other mortgages. If you have more than one mortgage on your house, some people have equity lines of credit or they have HELOCs. So factor all that stuff in, give that to your listing agent so they can calculate for you an estimated net sheet so you know roughly what you're gonna get, you can anticipate to get. A lot of times we find that's really important for people is knowing the numbers. We spend a lot of time on it because it takes away the fear once they get here and they get overly excited about something and then we go, uh-oh, they don't know what they're getting out of their house or they don't know what their payment's gonna look like. The second thing you're gonna need is a estimated closing cost or good faith estimate. So let's just call it a good faith estimate from a lender. So if you don't know of a good lender that's working in the area that you're moving to, let us know. We can absolutely recommend somebody excellent. That person is gonna run what they call a good faith estimate. And what is on that good faith estimate is your payment. How much is your payment gonna look like for the budget that you've set? A lot of times, you guys, you get pre-approved for way more money than you're gonna spend. That's the nature of it. Most people go, oh yeah, I'm not gonna spend this much. I wanna spend this much because I want my payment to be this. Totally, perfectly normal. But what is those numbers is what we try to get to the bottom of. And then we need to talk about closing costs. And on that good faith estimate, it will outline and detail all those costs to close. Now it's gonna give you the interest rate on there for the moment. Interest rates are going to be fluctuating until you secure a property. You can't actually lock in your interest rate until you find the property. But at least it's going to give you a ballpark interest rate to work with. And if you do find a property you like, and it's been a while since you got the good faith estimate, you can always ask your lender, hey, can you update this so I can see exactly what I can expect to bring to closing? But that's a really important document because some people are selling for less and buying for more where they're moving to. Like in a lot of cases, we help a lot of people move and relocate here that are selling for less, and every dollar is gonna matter because they're coming from a place that they're not able to get as much equity out of their house. Then we have places like California where they typically have a surplus, so it's not as much of a big deal. But the most important thing we try to get people to understand is what is your payment, what are your down payment, and what are your closing costs so that you feel very comfortable when you get here, not worrying about, well, what is my mortgage payment gonna be and what monies do I need? Because it's all about the monies at the end of the day, right? So make sure you get those things and then set the budget accordingly. And again, that's where you should call us because we go through what we call buyer consultations all the time. We get on the phone and try to listen to what is it you're hoping to buy when you get here? What are all the needs? What are all the wants? What are all the desires? And then we talk about your budget and what your budget will allow. And that really does help us to do that. We can certainly help you on this side, get that good faith estimate going. But on your side, as you're making the move, if you've hired a great listing agent, they should no problem get you the settlement estimate so that you can start planning ahead. All right, number 4 is call us. Yes, call us. Erica and I are your go-to gals when you make your move. And the reason why it's so important to interview us, if you will, and hop on a Zoom call and set something up like that is because we take this very seriously. When people are making a big move to the Portland metro area, they need to understand a whole lot, not just about the buying process, but what the market is doing, how you buy a house, the money's involved, the soup to nuts. And we always feel like we would be doing somebody a disservice if we didn't take the time to really sit down and go through this with them and, outline all the things that they're going to need to know before they make their move. Just like you meet with a listing broker, interview them, they tell you what you're going to need to know about making your listing shine and get top dollar. It's the same thing here, is that you find an agent that is going to actually help you navigate this process from the moment you're thinking about making the move to the time that you actually find the house here. And there's a lot to cover these days. Maybe you've heard of the NAR settlement things that have been going on. Certainly if you're going to sell your house wherever you are in the country, you're going to hear about it from that listing broker, because effective August 17th of this year, it is going into effect. And in fact, our state is starting the protocols much earlier than that. And there are things that you need to know surrounding that. Now, I'm not going to go in a deep dive into why that settlement happened and all that, but the things you're going to need to be aware of is, just like you're going to hire a listing broker in the area that you're in to sell your house, now you're going to officially hire the buyer broker that's going to represent you, to show you houses, to get information, to write contracts, negotiate on your behalf, and basically offer you the full fiduciary duty that they should in order for you to be able to buy a house. Now, as part of that agreement, just like in your listing agreement, is the compensation, the area of compensation in that agreement. Now, the settlement outlines that we must be transparent about what we're getting paid up front, and that the buyer is committing to paying that compensation. Now, in most cases, we are still seeing sellers offering what they call a buyer agent compensation. There's a lot of misinformation about there that buyer agent compensation being paid by the seller is going away. That is not, in fact, true. The way it's going to be advertised will change. So what we are telling people is that in order for us to show even one house, come August 17th, we need to have a signed buyer broker agreement. Just like if you were to hire a listing agreement, they cannot legally advertise your house for sale unless they have an agreement to sell your house. So I try to make those parallels because it's just easier to understand that when you hire a listing agent, you're hiring them to represent you and sell your house and market it and get it sold, and there is a payment at the end of that. Very similar to the buyer broker agreement, you're going to be hiring a buyer agent to help you navigate the entire process from soup to nuts, and they're not going to see compensation until you find and close escrow on a home. But there is more negotiations involved now when it comes to the compensation being offered to the buyer's agreement. So when you agree to compensate your buyer agent, in many cases, we're finding that either A, the seller that you're going to be buying the house from is still offering a compensation, or B, you're going to be negotiating directly with that seller in order to help offset your costs of that buyer agreement. Or if none of those are available, then yes, you would be responsible for covering the cost of your buyer's agent. All the more reason that we get on the phone with people and go through this process of what it takes to buy a house in the Portland area. It is now more important than ever to take the time as a buyer to understand the process, to understand what that looks like, what you're signing up for, and then also to feel like you can trust the agent that you're gonna hire, that they're going to do the job for you that you need to do. So we are offering that up. We've always done buyer consultations. A lot of agents haven't been doing those all these years, but we've always taken the opinion that if we educate our clients on the process and that they have an opportunity to see how we work and what we bring to the table, then everything goes so much smoother. And of course, that's what it's all about. I just highly believe in that professional stance. So if you are planning on making the move to Portland, reach out to us. Let's set up a time to jump on a Zoom call and go through that together. Number 5 is getting your home on the market. Now that we have had the interview, we have talked about your budget, how to buy a house in the Portland area, more importantly, your location that you're going to start to focus and tune into, and the budget. Now we can do our part behind the scenes to start actively looking for properties that fit your needs. Now, your house being on the market, maybe it sells quick, maybe it takes some time, but during that period of time, maybe you're making some trips out to the Portland area to take a look at some properties, Or in a lot of cases, and this is the most common, is we're doing video tours for you. A lot of times people don't make the move until they sell their house, at which point we understand that, but we might be actively looking for the right house for you. Maybe you can buy before you have to sell and you can just close on your house very quickly, or maybe you do have to wait. Either way, it's important for us to kind of line up your timelines and when you're getting on market so we can start really honing in on properties that might work for you. Now, obviously, you have to have your house sold if you have to sell before you buy, but sometimes we can talk about contingent offers or timing. And a lot of times timing is where it's at because good houses tend to go quick and a lot of sellers don't always want to dance with a contingent offer unless they've been sitting on the market for a while. And in those cases, we can also talk to financing about another option to see if you would qualify for it. And no, I'm not talking about a bridge loan, but so much of what we're talking about has to do with preparation and having your team of experts. We have those people here in the Portland area. So when you're trying to make a big move, like from East Coast to West Coast or, South to Northwest, it is very imperative that you have kind of your people intact. And we recommend that just like having people in your area to help you list your property, know the market and how to get it sold, we're your folks up here in the Portland area. And we're here to make sure that all along the way you're getting the right information. So if you are making that move and you need to have somebody help you, give us a call, shoot us a text. All of our information is in the description below. We regularly call and talk with people about their move. Some people are a year out. They're trying to plan, they're planners, they're realizing, wow, this is a big move for them, or they realize the area that they're looking in is very hard to find properties, don't come up all the time. Other people have to make a move really quickly. They got a job transfer, they're making things happen. If you don't have a house to sell, by the way, all the more easier to not have that step involved, or maybe you don't need to qualify to even sell your house to make the move and buy. But either way, it's important to reach out so we can understand your timelines and be prepped to work with you. So if that's you, do not hesitate. We'd love to hear from you and we'll see you guys on the next video.